All right, now today we're going to talk about how to get more mask resonance. Some of this terminology, like mask, a lot of people don't believe it exists, but it's a very common old term, very popular still in Europe. So I tend to use it. It's one way to explain how to get the voice more in a more resonant position. And we're going to show how this happens. I'll start off very simply. See if everybody can get this. Here we go. If you sing ma 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 ma, your nose opens. Ma 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 ma. And I can sing that way. So that is not a resonance that we want to use. Mainly, the biggest problem is, although maybe you can get it to sound pretty good, especially on microphones, but it doesn't carry well in the theater. If it does carry, it's very thin sounding. Some of the singers were totally inaudible when they sang that way. And of course, they sound great in the room, sound great up close. But boy, you get them over, get a big orchestra between you and them, and you can't hear them. So the closed nose becomes one of the techniques that we use to achieve the true mask. This is the false mask. Ma 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 ma. This is the true mask. Ba 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 ba. La 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 la. Now that throws the voice. The fact that I close my nose by saying a B, that's a consonant, and it's one of the methods for achieving the true mask. The ideal way is to breathe so deeply that the soft palate goes up and forward as a reaction to an action. If I make a big action, the whole idea is that the reaction to breathing down and back is to my soft palate to move up and forward, and the closed nose is one of the results of that. So we want to go through this and find out exactly how singers can identify and choose this thing. If you choose the true mask, your voice will be much, much bigger over an orchestra in the theater. If all you do is record in a room with microphones, especially with knob control, you can sing in your nose and get away with it probably. The other problem with the open nose is you have no space for your high notes. Ma 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 ma. I've demonstrated that before. I'm choking. I feel like I'm choking to death. I go ba 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 ba. I have room for my high notes. So that's one way. Now, greedy as we are, what do we do to get more? Now, see if everybody can hear this. Ma 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 ba 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 ba. All right. What did I do to get more mass? You're going to hear it happen. Ma 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 ba 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 la la la. It's not something in the mouth. It's something that I do. This one I did with a thought. I simply thought, start crying. So I'm crying. Ma 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 ba 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 ba. It's so terrible what happened. And I tell you what happened. It was awful what happened. Anything makes me cry also makes my nose close. And not only does the nose close, but the resonance jumps up even higher. See? Babies go, ah, ha, ha, ha. And when we imitate them, we do wah, 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 and so forth. But they're not in their noses. Ah, ha, 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 right? A child, a whining child, goes, it's not fair what you make me go to bed, and I don't want to go to bed. It sounds like they're in their noses, but they're not. So they go, the voice is sitting above this nasal cavity. As Caruso said, never sing into the nasal cavity. So we're singing above it. We're singing up here. Now, let's try a couple of other ways. One is thought, simply cry. Be happy. Ba 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 la la. Ma 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 ba 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 la. Right? Now, the famous baritone Leonard Warren, who had probably the greatest baritone voice I ever heard, used what he called a pre-sneeze. So I'm going ma 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 ba 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 la l'alba se va nella luce l'ombra la, and all I'm doing is pretending, imagining that I'm about to sneeze. And if I'm going to sneeze, I go the position that happens is they all resemble each other, but there are all slight differences. Now let's just move the soft palate up and forward mechanically, like this. Right? So I'm going up. And all I'm doing is mechanically lifting my soft palate up and forward. I must warn everyone, none of these work if you don't breathe in your lower back. If you breathe in your lower back, all of them work. Okay? All right, now let's try another one. I've got, there's a whole series of them that people can do, and if they like them, you can open the mask by breathing. This is George London's big thing. You do this. Every time you take a breath, you open the mask. You go, and it opens right there, upward, right up here, like that. La, 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 la. So he called it breathing the mask open. Worked like a charm. Then there's a happy surprise. Doorbell rings. I open the door. You're standing there, and I go, what are you doing here? If I go, today it's so nice to be here, and I'm so happy to see you. In other words, the soft palate reacts all the time, depending on some of our feelings and what we think about and what we're doing. You can figure that if I laugh, I get, if I cry, you know, if I do the pre-sneeze, I get, if all I do is breathe way down my lower back and do nothing and depend on the third law of motion, for every action there's an equal and opposite reaction. If I depend on that to do the job, I go, you can understand any word I'm saying. Right? Now, if I lift the soft palate up and forward mechanically, you're supposed to breathe down your lower back all the time if you do this. See? So I breathe, and then I lift my soft palate up and forward. Where does the voice go when I do that? See? We had one vocalise already I was using in the instigator list called the hung line. And those of you who watch the instigator videos have probably seen this hung line. You go, hung. And when you do, the NG puts the voice right across here. It's in the nasal cavity, right there. What I do is, when I open to sing, I sing over that line. Hung, I'm fine. See? So the voice moves from the hung, which is in the nasal cavity, which is in the false mask. And when I go over that line, it moves up here into the third eye, if you're taking yoga. But it moves up here in the true mask. So you can hear it. If I sing with the hung is, I go, hung, and that's deceptive because you can sing that way, especially if you're willing to do a lot of manipulation in the throat to help the voice pass into the upper register. Singers that use a lot of nasality or a lot of nasal placement have to use vowel modification when they get the upper notes. I go ma 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 ma. I'm not going to get up there, so I've got to modify my throat somehow. So I go ma 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 ma. Why do that when I go la la la? And I'm not modifying anything. I'm lifting my soft palate up and forward. And ideally, that is done as a reaction to deep breathing in the lower back. Whatever goes down and back requires that its opposite and equal happen, which means something goes up and forward. If you do that, I hate to use the word, it's not an abused word, but it's probably the most natural way to achieve the true mask, which is simply by breathing. If I breathe, Franco Corelli got the masterclass, and somebody said, keep talking about getting your throat open. Open your throat, open your throat. How do you get your throat open? He went like that, he went, well, you can see I'm sucking against a closed glottis or half closed glottis, and my lower back is pulling like that. And I remember singing for Helge Roswanger. He kept saying, die flanken, where are your flanks? Where are your flanks? You know, action in your flanks. Go. So he had me do it and do the sort of chimpanzee imitation. And what that does, it activates your lower back like crazy and makes your lower back muscles go like that. And of course, it also, as an opposite and equal reaction, causes the soft palate to go up and forward. So I'm going ba 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 ba. Oh, you today, I'm fine. Let's go downtown and get something to eat. You can understand every word I'm saying. If you do this, number one, if you use deep breathing in the back, you are going to be limited to what Caruso called the massive power of the respiration. If you don't have massive power when you suck your breath in and down, you will not get a massive reaction up and forward like he did. Right? So it would be nice to have that much power, but he was an ocean swimmer. When he was a child, he swam in the Bay of Naples, and he was always doing something with his breathing. He wrote his little book and mentions breathing 60 times in 32 pages. He was a breath-breathing, obsessed person with the phenomenal result that happened in his voice. So if I can breathe down and back, and he said pull the abdomen in, and Lily Lehman said pull the abdomen in, and any number of the great singers that I've talked to said pull the abdomen in. Gali Corci said glue your abdomen up against your spine. If I do that, it adds compression and makes me get even more pulling down and back, which means I get even more opposite and equal reaction up and forward. So if I go, there it is. If I'm going to sing that way, some singers achieve that by being very, very, let's say, mechanical, artificial. Herman Pryor goes, he's really lifting it up, but he's got a little bit straight up. If I sing up and back, I get, you notice my phonation gets a little bit spread and not speech size. If I go up and forward, I go, eins, zwei, drei, you can understand me very clearly. If I go up and back, I go, eins, zwei, drei, you can understand me very clearly, but I'm definitely modifying my vowels, and so forth to the back of my throat. If I go up in the middle, I'll do it up here, and I go, ba 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 ba. Now lift it up here again. La. Oh, you today is still a little bit modified, a little bit extra round in the color. The Italians think the perfect sound is what they call chiaroscuro. Chiaroscuro is one word. Chiaro means clear, and they use it to mean bright, brilliant. Brilliant is really a different word. But they love to say chiaroscuro, bright, dark. And chiaroscuro literally means clear, dark. But if I say a clear vowel, ah, and I do it without any breathing, ah, it stops coming up on my throat, see? So instead of doing this and manipulating with my throat and doing all kinds of things, you get the voice up like this. Some people say, put a hole in it, hold a piece of candy in the middle of your tongue. Oh, see what I did there? Now I've got, oh, it's like Jimmy Stewart, the famous actor, talked like that. So I go, oh, it's getting a little bit lopsided inside my throat. So then I have to put it back forward and it's going. So I go, oh, nya, 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 nya. So I got all this activity going in my throat. The people that do the gaity, ning, 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 and they go, gaity, 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 nya. Well, I got to modify the throat to get any color. Nya. Maybe right down here somewhere you go, nya. But it's all modified and it's all active in the throat and causes all kinds of problems. The ski slope. Sitting with the tongue up and back. How am I going to get color? I have to modify my throat. If we can find one that doesn't do anything to the throat at all, except react to breathing, then I can speak perfectly normally. I can carry on a conversation all I want to and pronounce everything normally. And you can do every language that way. You can say everything because it is normal speech function. It's not, you don't have to modify anything in particular if you breathe.